Sweet
Okay, I'll
baby
do it.
Jesus, the smile. 13th song, 53 minutes long.
A light for
smile.
attracting attention.
Yeah, a light for attracting attention. Smile, consisting of Radiohead members Tom York, Johnny Greenwood, and their friend Tom Skinner on drums. Whole record produced by longtime Radiohead and Tom York and contributor of Nigel Godrich, who is one of the best music producers out there today. Side note, Dan, I found out that our favorite Beck album, I believe, if it is your favorite Beck album, the one that has Cell Phone Said and all of that, was produced by Nigel Godrich.
The information?
The information was produced by Nigel Godrich.
Nigel Godrich Brothers episode.
We honestly kind of have to do it at this point. Because I have opinions. But anyways, I've been waiting for
Nigel Godrich versus Danger Mouse. Secretly best producer in the game.
Fuck. Well, all right,
choose your fighter.
Nigel Godrich, Danger Mouse, Madlib,
Metro
Boomin. Fuck.
No. Kenny Beats.
Ooh, 5? Shit.
Choose your fighter.
Damn, that's good. That's like playing a Game & Watch. I don't know who.
No. I'm gonna make that a Twitter poll. That's very, very good. That's very good.
Ooh. I don't even know who I'd vote for at that point.
Yeah,
that's 13 if I've ever seen one.
Okay.
I've been looking forward to this review for a long ass time. I'm going to be very, very annoying and shit because I just want to say I told you so to the entire music community of old guys can still make good fucking music if you take your time and try something fucking different, because that's what I like people to do, is try something different. And they do. So I know what I'm going to say, but I actually am very, very, very excited to hear what Dan has to say about this record. So I want Dan take the wheel a little bit.
Okay, yes. So it for people who don't like Radiohead, you've already made that decision. I'm probably not going to change your mind after 25 years or so. For people who do, this is awesome because it's more Radiohead. That maybe is like my best compliment / complaint about it, is that sounds like a Radiohead inspired album, which of course it's going to be because you have so many members of Radiohead working on said album. I think you have some explorations of like an era of past Radiohead that Radiohead's not going to come back to, essentially. So that's really good. I think it's maybe more of a fact that Radiohead as a band have done so much, have like started from as a very like hard punk band and then really pushed forward into 90s progressive grunge rock and then rock alternative to the airy alternative orchestral Johnny Greenwood strumming a guitar backwards, like all of that stuff that we know it to be now. And so because they've spanned nearly everything except rap music at this point, like I guess maybe whatever they did would always sound a little bit like that. But especially after hearing You'll Never Work in Television Again, I was kind of expecting it to be a lot faster paced in that. Not that I don't like that it isn't, but I was expecting it to be a lot more punk and rock influence. Like I was able to say like, okay, this is if like there's a slightly different universe where Tom York and Johnny Greenwood just end up being like, veering off into being like aging punk heads. Like they are Viagra. Basically, if Johnny Greenwood and Tom York became Viagra boys.
Yeah. But it very much is not.
Yeah, it's not that. I think it's like the Radiohead expansion pack, if you will. It's just like, but like within that, you get some of my favorite like Radiohead Cinematic Universe songs that I've like gotten, and I would include like some of my favorite from probably my favorite Radiohead Expanded Universe album being Atoms for Peace. So like there's a few that I like in here that are even better than those. More on that later. People really love The Same. People really, really love The Same. I think people were commenting on that song like the most.
So The Same, to open up the record, is such a really cool track to open up. It just has this really small beat. It's just these two electronic beats and a little bit of drum that just slowly build and build and build and build. And then just Tom, the lyrics of it are really cool, where Tom is like, you know, we want the same. People want the same. Please, we want the same. And you can kind of take it what you want. I mean, Radiohead lyrics and Tom York lyrics in general can be kind of vague political stuff, or sometimes it could literally be like George Bush stole the election, fuck him. It could be that in your face too, but this one is more of the subtle thing of, people want change, people want the same at some point. Just how do you get there, and how do people get to that? And please, like begging, we want the same. It's really cool, and we are all the same. We are all humans at the end of the day. At least some of us are, and it's really a brilliant opening because it gets you uncomfortable. It gets you ready to be uncomfortable, which is the best way I could say to get into any of Radiohead's music. Is just get ready, strap yourself in, because you're gonna hear some really weird, depressing shit. But it's very good. It's unique. It's different in the way, and I love just the way it builds and electronic beats because it really reminds me of an Amnesiac sound, like some older B sides, like Worrywart sounding or Amazing Sounds of Orgy sounds that they're never going to really do again as Radiohead. But with this three-piece band, they can get away with it. And they do.
Yeah.
And right after that, you get into the opposite, which is, a really cool, like upbeat little, like jazzy-ish type of theme. And I love Johnny's looping on the guitar. And he gets to mess with that a lot, which to me, this is where the Smile and Radiohead have a disconnect. Is Tom and Johnny can really experiment with the solo work that they've done. They've done with different artists. They've done just themselves, so on and so forth. They get to do that and bring it together because it works in a three-piece. But bring that to a five or a six-piece, even seven-piece if you count Nigel Godrich, you can't really do that because it pulls away from too much. It ends up being an individual thing instead of a team effort, which Radiohead's all about working together. But with this, Johnny can loop his guitar as much as you want. Tom can play bass at the same time, have this really cool skip and beat from Tom Skinner, and it works.
I
And
do
you
like
get
with
that a
the
lot too.
I do like with the opposite. It sounds like it could be like a Hail to the Thief or
Oh, 100%.
in Rainbow's era B side, and we do love that era. Then
My favorite era.
you never work in television again. Of course, we listen a lot
Mm.
to that song as well, and it's just like I
Just like
really love. Yeah,
aftertaste.
yeah. Um, Panavision is that kind of. I really like certain aspects of certain of these songs, and I really love the dun 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 in that
Mm-hmm.
almost more than like not almost more than anything, but just like I wish I could just take that as a sound and like make it my ringtone. It's one of those. Like I just
Yeah.
really love that like intro into it. Just like the way those pianos kind of come into it. It's
Mm-hmm.
a really good airy Radiohead song, almost like a King of Limbs type era thing, which is why I'm like,
Yes.
this feels like the Radiohead expansion pack because can see so much of Radiohead in these tracks. Whereas, and again, that's kind of my criticism. I think in Tom York's Suspiria or like those or like Anima, those solo projects, you really get Tom York sounding. How Tom York does as a solo project, but that's very, very different from a lot of Radiohead. Johnny Greenwood, he's like producing like he's composing film scores at a
Mm.
record that hasn't been seen since like Hans Zimmer secretly. All right. So like that's a whole different thing. All right. Together, of course, there's going to be some similarities because this is how these people have worked for the past, you know, decades on.
Mm.
And I am a Radiohead fan, so at the end result, I'm kind of happy with this. But I think You Will Never Work in Television Again was like one of the better kind of extensions of going further and further away from that. And you definitely do get that here in some cases, but in other like a lot of it, I just go, oh, like yeah, King of Limbs B side or In Rainbow's B side, like not to say the B-sides are bad, because usually you're like, "Oh, B-side's a throwaway album, or a throwaway song."
No,
It's
Radiohead
not really a
B-sides are better than half of them are better than their fucking actual album stuff. They're just shy about it.
Yeah, I like Bangers and
Like
Mash more
yes,
than
I was
most
about to
of
say
In
like Banners and Mash. My
I like it
favorite
more
Radiohead,
than most of In Rainbows.
yeah, my favorite Radiohead album is Calm Lag 2 + 2 = 5, which is all B-sides. Like yeah,
Yeah.
and so some of their stuff that they get discarded and stuff because it's just a little too conceptual and everything for most stuff is are just amazing. But like, for example, after Panavision, you get the Smoke, which is a really cool, like jazzy sound again, which is different. You haven't really heard that from them, which I
This
like.
is one of
Yeah,
my favorite songs I've ever heard from this group. In the
yeah,
Radiohead cinematic universe, this is one of my favorite songs ever.
yeah.
It has
It's
everything I
so
want in
cool.
it.
Mhm. And I love how Tom and Johnny are marrying each other. Tom on bass, Johnny on a palm muted guitar, and it's just going back and forth the whole time. It's so cool. And then The one thing too that I actually really like with this record is the way Tom does his vocals. He knows he's in his mid late 50s now, that his vocals aren't he doesn't have the range like he used to be able to, but he's using his falsetto a lot, but able to control it. Because there's a gap there from like, 2010 to maybe 2016 before the Unchained Pool tour, where I thought, shit, he's really losing his voice. Like he can't hit notes I used to be able to. He can't do a lot now. But with Unchained Pool, he started to kind of trim it down, Anima a little bit too. But with this, he's really going, you know what? I'm older. This is what I have, but I'll work with it, and it really sounds good. And they don't overproduce it too, to this where you won't get this sound live either. So I'm also very jealous because you're going to see them live without me. But more on that later.
Sorry. I didn't even notice till I looked at the lineup and I was like, oh, I gotta tell Sean he's gonna hate this.
Yeah, but I mean,
Um,
I'll see him at some point, I'm sure.
why does Thin Thing? Maybe it was just like one of those things I just made sure to not listen to when the singles came out. But I feel like I've heard it like really early on, not really early on in Radiohead, but like heard played live once or twice or something.
So, Thin Thing, Johnny does this looping thing on his guitar, which he has done in his solo work, and he did on Present Tense. The live version of Present Tense, not the recorded version of Present Tense. That's the only times he's ever done it. And on Thin Thing, he gets to bring it back and does this looping thing where he plays like a half-second loop, I believe, and that's how you get that really cool effect that's just over and over and over and over throughout the track. It's actually very difficult to do because if you mess up one note, you're fucked. So, but this again is stuff that he gets to bring in. It's very difficult to do as a Radiohead project because it's so prevalent that it can distract you from all the other stuff that's going on. But with the three piece, it works. And I love it. I've listened to Thin Thing so much. It's really cool. And Tom is messing with his vocals on the little like synthesizer to change it up and do stuff too. And then you get one of the most beautiful things I've heard them make since, or I've heard Tom do since Dawn Chorus, which opened the floodgates. Beautiful, beautiful track. It's the epitome of music that they can make that no one else can do. No one else can replicate that sound. No one else can do that. And it's just this beautiful piano ballad where you have a little bit of guitar in the background, slowly building. You have these electric chimes that are kind of building up around Tom's voice, and you just get this orgasmic sound that wraps around your head as it goes up. And it's just one of those tracks that I'm left in awe every time I listen to it. And on my dad, every time he hears it, he's like, God damn, they can't make bad music, man.
Yeah, the part of the album that is kind of like I liked it, but I feel like I'm going to really get into songs like no, I liked Open the Floodgates completely, but I'm gonna get into songs 9 through 11 along with Open the Floodgates. The next time I'm just on like a depressive thing, I just need to like listen to
Oh,
sad Tom
yeah.
York for a while. Um, I will amend what I said earlier. We Don't Know What Tomorrow Brings is another one of those like you will never have to work in television again. That's
We
like
don't know
okay
what
now.
tomorrow brings.
Yeah, it's like okay, yeah. Now this is more of what I was expecting the Smile to be like. This like fast,
Mhm.
up pace, like punk kind of thing. Like I was really expecting them to kind of go out, and I'm happy you get kind of like the slower stuff, the moodier stuff. But like
Mm.
yeah, I was really expecting more of like a let's go out and rock kind of
Me
deal.
too.
I
Me too.
like I I'll still contend that I'm can be even though they surprised me and I like being surprised in this podcast. I will say I could have done with one or two, maybe fewer of the Radiohead's greatest hit side mission songs, and one or two more of the like, okay, let's try this newer Radiohead inspired, but still pushing it in this punk angle that's more unified that they haven't done before, kind of thing. I still think that's my one wanting thing from this album, but what we got in return was again like Radiohead GTA Online and like some of those other tracks in the middle that are just some of the more beautiful flowing into things songs that Radiohead Cinematic Universe has done in a while. Waving the White Flag flows really nicely as well.
A hair dryer is another track I like too, and we don't. Yeah, skirting on the surface to end it is great. Like the way just it really encapsulates everything that they work well together with, and I'm impressed by it because for people who've been making music for 30 years, right? Who have Tom and Johnny have been together for 30 years, really at this point. They can still make damn good music. They still does this. And this is a thing I have a big critique of groups who have been together for a long time. The Black Keys, I'm looking at you, I'm coming for that ass. Where, you could be a group together, you can sell out like Coldplay. All right, fine, that's one thing. You can, pull the Incubus, which is you can make some really good tracks and some really good small B-side projects, but as full records, I don't think they really have that. But like little five track out EPs or whatnot, fantastic, and you can still do that in the alt rock space. But then you get Tom and Johnny and all the other members of Radiohead that they can do it on their own. They could do it in different groups, and they can still, have an effect on music that no one else really can do. They still bring it every time. They still push that sound. So now it's like, bridging that gap of rock, alt rock, indie, experimental indie, and depressing Tom mood and everything into one album. And it still flows together. Every track belongs together. You can put this on shuffle and it still flows as well, which is something that I do enjoy. But not necessarily like you don't necessarily have to do that, but it's something that I do like. But anyways, I'm impressed by it. I like it a lot. I know a lot of people like it a lot. Not just Radiohead fans, but people who like alt rock in general and indie fans in general too. They're like, oh wow, like this is really good. So yeah, in the indie space, in the alt rock space, you can still do it. Just gotta try new shit.
Arbitrary scale, because we do arbitrary scales every single week on Audioface, because our review is our review, and we usually don't put numbers on things, but years of Audioface, ranked from the worst years of Audioface to the best years of Audioface, what are you going to give this?
I'm gonna say 2018 as well. Like this is, but like a different. This is like end of 2018.
I was gonna give this like end of 2017 because it was like it had this like early episode kind of charm to it of like an early podcast. That's still when podcasting was like kind of fun. Um and before it became all alpha brain supplements and Tim Pool debating why
Oh
I'm not
god.
even gonna get into it. Not gonna get into
Oh
it.
god.
Not gonna get into it. PowerPort. Um
Matt Bender. I got a lot of respect for that guy now.
the patience of a saint. Also, hashtag no politics, since we're bringing in all these
Yeah.
other different things. No, but like there were moments in the early part of the podcast where it's like, why are we maniacally listening to 3 new albums every single week? And then you discover the horrors, and we're like, oh yeah, this is the reason. This because it's fucking
Yeah,
rocks.
exactly. You
Okay,
get the
love
Horse
it.
5. You get the Horse 5, and you're like, this is why I fucking knew this. Still one of my favorite albums we've ever reviewed on this podcast.
Yeah. Um, God, that would be a great episode too. Just like favorite albums we've ever reviewed, like to review, like enjoying those reviews themselves.